This is going to be my first video on what I would consider an all-out assault on YouTube gurus, be that financial, be it fitness, be it relationship, professional, and it won't just be on YouTube. This will be a social media, whatever you want to call it, barrage, guerrilla warfare against people fucking trying to steal your attention. And I say steal because I think they really are. So this is going to be the first one, and I think the money aspect is something I want to cover first, because I think a lot of people, I see the views on YouTube, and it's getting rich is super easy, and it's got a thumbnail of Jeff Bezos, and he's speaking at a commencement ceremony or graduation, and the piano music is swelling, and it's moving you to an emotional elevated position, and he's like, when I discovered X, that's when Y became so much easier. And this bullshit is rampant throughout YouTube. People fucking talking nonsense. I'm talking fucking nonsense, but if you put pretty music to it and you, I don't know, convey some kind of image, and sometimes it's not even the person who's making the video doing it. Like, it's not even their voice. They're just taking, screenshots or, video clips of someone else, and they're putting pretty music to it, and it's just to elicit an emotional response, and it's just to steal your fucking attention. And this bullshit has got to stop. We stare at these screens and everything way too goddamn much all day, and it accomplishes nothing. Absolutely accomplishes nothing. Sorry, I'm going to get fucking heated on this, and I cannot stand it. Fuck. So first, I guess I'll just start into like the money thing. It's like, everyone wants to be an influencer or YouTuber. It's like, I don't. Like, if I ever sell something, don't fucking buy it. Just don't. Just tell me to go fuck myself and go do your own thing. That you need to do something that benefits you. There's nothing wrong with taking advice from people. That's how we all get better. Iron sharpens iron. The ways that I got, or the ways that I improved in my life, were working with people who were smarter than me and trying to absorb everything I could as fast as I could, and to try to achieve some level of competence, strive for mastery, if you will. It's not listening to some vague YouTuber talk in general terms about things and getting up at 4 a.m. There's always like this thing of like, well, I get up at 4 a.m. and I do this and this and this, and I've achieved this much by 9. That's fine. And, a lot of successful people would be like, oh yeah, I'll sleep when I'm dead. No, the fuck you won't. You'll sleep now because you're human and you have to. Like, there's nothing, there's no trophy for getting up at 4. And there are people who are successful who get up later. Fuck, I get up at 3. Like, when does it stop? That's not a metric for success. And like, I think the overall arching theme is, if I think about it, I don't know if I can be objective, but if I stop and think about it, it's the allure of success. And I'm not sure, you really want that. Like, do you know what's involved? Like, you see the end result. You might see somebody like a badass car or a big house or whatever. And it's like, you see like these, they're not trophies, but these representations of what success might mean, and have never stopped. And it's not your fault. It's not my fault. Like, you've never stopped and thought about like, what actually is it like when you're in those things. So I have worked with very successful people, and one thing I have learned and seen firsthand is, when you have a gigantic house or a nice ass car or whatever, it's not what you think it is. Like, you would be shocked, and I'm sure you know this to some degree, of how quickly acclimated and accustomed you get to things of various increasing values or statuses of luxury. Like, if you live in a 1,000 square foot house, and then you get a 2,000 square foot house, like, that's a big jump. But at a certain point, you get a diminishing return. So after a certain point of like square footage on a house, just for example, it becomes less and less, oh my gosh. And and at some point it really stops becoming a thing at all. Like, I have been in gigantic compounds of homes, and the rooms that are always used the most, the kitchen by far, the living rooms, the bedrooms, obviously, maybe if they have an office, but there are rooms in these places that have dust, or if they're professionally kept, by a housekeeper, that never get used. And this goes for like, even recreational areas like, home theaters and, billiard rooms, things of that nature won't get used. Like if they have kids, the kids will stay holed up in their room watching fucking TikTok all day, and doing whatever. So it's like, you basically have a bigger place to do the same shit that everyone else that has a home, regardless of size, is doing. It's just, it takes up a bigger footprint. Now, you also have the burden of, excess upkeep, increased property taxes and whatever. If you're balling out of control and that's not a big deal to you, so be it. That's fine. But what a lot of people do is they end up downsizing because, like, I don't need this shit. Like, it's just extra shit that I don't need. Same thing with a car. If you have a beater, Camry from 1991, and that's your sole means of transportation, and you upgrade to, like, I don't know, a sports car, like a nice Mustang, you'd be like, holy shit, this is a marked improvement, and rightfully so. Say that after a while from a Mustang, you go to like a decent like Audi or something like that. I'm not saying like Audi is better than a Mustang. I'm just trying to make logical steps and progression of versions of cars. So say you step into like Audi like RS5, something like that, and you're like, oh wow, I've made it. So now we're in the high 5 digits, potentially touching 6-digit vehicle territory. That might be a huge jump. But so you go from like an RS5 to an RS7, and then to like a BMW M series, and like you start making these jumps, and maybe the price starts to go up much higher. But you had a nice car like 3 cars ago, and is that much more vehicle value going to be that much more happiness? Chances are no, it's not. And you start edging into like supercar territory, and it's like, all right, now I have a like a badass 911 Turbo S. My brother has one, and it's the sickest build I've ever seen, or sickest spec I've ever seen. It's like that Nardo battleship gray, and it looks so nasty. That's probably approaching almost a $300,000 car optioned out. Now, if you were to jump from that, and let's back up. Keep in mind that like, a 911 Turbo S on the 992 platform is arguably probably the best bang for the buck, one of the fastest cars on the planet. Like, just awesome as far as dollar value to performance. Nothing can beat that. Nothing can touch that. To even get close, you're gonna have to start getting into Ferrari, McLaren, Lamborghini territory and spending double that. So we'll use that as a good benchmark. So you have let's call it $275,000 911 Turbo S. Now say now you're gonna go to McLaren like 720. Is that, and maybe that's 500,000, like, is that extra money going to be that much extra happiness in terms of the car? Like, you had a sick, nasty car before. Now you've got a sicker, I guess, arguably nastier car that maybe is faster. It also draws more attention. It's not as easy maybe to go get your McLaren service. Like, there are all kinds of things that come along with having a nicer version of something when you already had a nice car to begin with. And I think that's like a money pitfall that people don't realize, and maybe they shouldn't realize it. Maybe that's just the way it is. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, everyone wants the result of, and a lot of people have nice things, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your situation, or if you're a car nut, wanting to get a nicer car or whatever. Maybe your dream is to have a fucking McLaren or a Ferrari, or well, actually fuck Ferrari, but a McLaren or a Lamborghini, or fucking a Bugatti, whatever. And that's your thing. That's fine. But Like, make no mistake, like, you will not be happier as a person when your square footage of your house doubles, when the performance of your car is 1,000 horsepower over, or 300% increase in cost. It's not going to make you like happier as an individual at all. It's not going to fill that hole. And everyone, I think deep down does know that. Now, it doesn't stop them from wanting it. And the drive to excel and have outward physical markers, I guess, of achievement, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, that's all fine and dandy, but like, don't think that once you get to a certain level, well, that's it. That's all I'll ever need. I just need this house. I just need this car. I just need this level of compensation. I just need this salary. I just need, this hot chick, that hot dude, whatever floats your boat. Like, don't think that like that's going to flip some lever in your psyche and like you're just all of a sudden done. And the whole thing, and I see, these like finance gurus, and they're talking about like, what was the one? Some guy was saying like, all you need is 10 rental properties before you're 30, and the dominoes start to fall. It's like, bitch, who has one rental property like before they're 30, like outright? You're in school from 18 to 22, assuming you go to either college or trade school or whatever. So you have from hypothetically 22 to 29 to amass like 30 properties. Like, bitch, get out of here. Like, he's just trying to get your views, and it's like, that's fucking nonsense. Like, Graham Stefan or Steven or whatever, like, fuck his nonsense too with his clickbait. And he's like, this is why the market is crashing. And it's every fucking thumbnail looks just like that. It's this, and and it's like, I see this crap with him, and Grant Cardone. God even knows what he fucking sells. He probably made $1 million in real estate and fucking 20 million selling courses and books. And that's the big thing. These channels, most of these channels, are funneling you into some fucking book, into some fucking course, to some goddamn bullshit that you do not need. You don't fucking need it, because what you do need doesn't sell books, and it doesn't sell courses, and it's not sexy. It's fucking quick, it's brutal, and it's dirty, just like the world can be. What you need, ideally, and there are very few overlaps that I have with some of these bitches on social media about what's important and what it takes to be successful. I will say the one. Ideally, and you don't this isn't a must, but ideally find something that you enjoy. Like something that if money weren't really an issue, that you would probably still do it. Now, I will say that, finding your passion and making money off of that isn't always a one-to-one return. Because what I have found in my case, and this may apply to some of you, is when you monetize your passion, say you like to woodwork. If you start doing woodworking as a career, there's something about tying what you love doing that's a more of a hobby or cathartic process, tying it to your well-being that sucks the joy out of it. Because then it's somebody like, I want you to make this for me. I want you to make this for me. Can you change this? Then you're starting to have things dictated to you for money, and it becomes more of a job, and it can suck the joy. But ideally, you want to do something that you enjoy and would do even perhaps if you weren't paid for it. I think that's sound advice. Two, something that, and I hear a lot of people say, well, do something you're good at. Well, not everyone is born good at something. You have your talents, and it's good to play to those. But I think what would be a better statement would be, do something that you can become good at. Something that you don't mind like digging into, and you want a level of proficiency at something, and I would say strive for like mastery of that. And that's never achieved, by the way, no matter who you are. But you want to shoot for the, what's they say, shoot for the moon, and maybe you'll hit the stars. Shoot for mastery. Like that's the end goal, is to be like one of the best, if not the best, at what you do. So even if you're not good at it to begin with, maybe pick something that like you could, even if it's arbitrary, even it's, I don't know, like something maybe that you're not overly interested in, but like you could be interested in. And it's the journey and the quest for the mastery that will trump everything. Not necessarily, well, I became the best programmer, became the best, you know, uh, I don't know, whatever, best plumber, best, banker, best this, that, but the journey is more important than the destination. That part is true, because it is the human condition um, to never have that. Like, you have a temporary satisfaction level, and it's what's I can't think of that freaking word. Um, Content. Yeah, we're never content with what we have, and I think if you go into it knowing that, the journey becomes much more of a adventure. And I think that part is missed. Everyone wants the end result. They want the big bank account, they want the big car, the big house, the big muscles, all that shit. They want it like now, and it's like that's like the result. And yes, that is worth chasing. That's kind of why you're doing it. But like, the adventure therein is really where the meat of life is. And if you think otherwise, like, you're cheating yourself. Like, I've often said that, for rich people that were born, or wealthy, affluent, whatever adjective you want to use, people that were born into money they're getting cheated out of so much like cool feelings that average Joes get to experience. Like, if you've only known luxury items and luxury lifestyles and never having to want, like, you've never had to struggle, like, you were being ripped the fuck off. There's nothing more satisfying than when you achieve something out of sure fucking, like, pure grit and will and determination. If you're saving up to buy your first house and you had to eat ramen for a year, like, I'm not saying that's ideal, and I'm not glorifying or glamorizing struggle for the sake of glamorizing it. But if you had to struggle, say you ate ramen for a year and you bought your first house and it was a modest house, to you, that is the fucking Taj Mahal. And no one can take that from you. You weren't given it. No one helped you out. You had to sacrifice. And that sacrifice, is what makes it, like, that sour is what makes the thing sweet. And I think that raw, like, emotion of feeling that and be like, I did this, like, I made this is mine, like, no one gave this to me. I think if you're born affluent, nothing against that, but I think you're being cheated out of some real, true, like, life joy. And I wouldn't want that. I don't want that. Like, I want the things that I get to be acquired through fucking tenacity. And even if it's not a fucking 10,000 square foot home or whatever it is that we think we need, like, it's important to achieve, like, on your own terms, because because you wanted to. And I guess it's, in a way, when everyone is like, oh, I just want to be rich and I want to retire on an island and drink Mai Tais all fucking day, and have people you cook for me. It's like, what? Like, almost, I don't believe you. Like, I don't believe you, because if you think about it, if you're constantly on vacation and relaxing and stuff, like, that's all you do. Like, what a shit life. And if that's all that you do, technically, like, or ironically, work would become the vacation, because that's the thing. Like, that's what is not the norm. So your escape then would become work. So, and what I have learned too is, like, we're meant to stay in motion, and I think it's how you direct that, and where you focus that makes all the difference. I don't think you're meant to just, if you just sat and you have, dollars kicking in to your bank account every single second of the day, and that's all great and fine. Maybe, you can use that, and your motion can be curing diseases or, feeding the hungry or something like that. Like, I think, excess sums of money can do great things. And, there are some philanthropic folks out there that do a lot with that money. But, like, if you're just sitting there accumulating, and you're not, like, you don't have something to, like, to butt heads with, metaphorically or struggle against, then, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, there's a reason that, you know, that nature kind of like sets itself up like that. Like, as a newborn, like, you're dependent on everyone else, like your parents, for everything, you know. As a, you have to be fed, clothed, diapers changed, and everything. Like, you're completely helpless. Like, so there's a struggle both ways. Like, you cannot do anything yourself when you're born. Your folks are struggling because you won't shut the fuck up and go to bed, take a nap. And there's nothing bad about that. So, like, there's an inherent, like, struggle in being human, and having limitations, I think, is kind of what makes us human. And I think it's important to not have everything that you want. And I think a big piece of that comes down, when you're thinking about, like, finances, and I want to be successful. And it's like, I think a lot of people just say it. And what you should say, what the person I would believe, and this ties into several other things. The person I would believe who says, I want to be rich or successful, the person who says, like, I want to be the best at this thing, whatever that is. And I kind of think back to, maybe to, like, a Michael Jordan type of reference. It's, famously, he was cut from his high school team, and, then got drafted by, or not drafted, then, played for UNC and the Tar Heels, and made that, that shot against Georgetown in '82. When Jordan was practicing and playing, and, I'd heard that, like, his dad was kind of tough on him growing up. When he was practicing and playing, this wasn't necessarily the era of huge, gigantic endorsement deals and, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of NBA contracts. Like, it was still pretty early in those days, post ABA. Jordan, I think, and I can't speak for the man, although I think he's the greatest to ever play the game. I think in his head, he's like, I will be the best at this. I will be the best. It wasn't I want to be the richest basketball player. And it's like, no, I want to be the best. And the money, like, figures itself out. And lo and behold, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever play the game. The standard by which excellence is measured. David Stern said that, during one of the All-Star games, when he gave the most valuable player trophy to Jordan. And I think the person who not says it to everyone, like, but says it internally, or at least has that motto kind of imprinted on their heart, that's the person who I believe will be successful. And it's not always tied to, like, gigantic financial gain. If you're the best at what you do, and you're still an hourly employee, well, there's only 24 hours a day. So even if you make $1,000 an hour, you're hypothetically capped at what you can make. But, like, the mastery of what it is you do, the effort, like, that's what success is. It's not a fucking dollar amount. And I think that's what's missing. Like, you see all these, like, these YouTubers and fucking, like, the worst. Oh, my boss is calling me. I'm gonna get back to him. The worst are, like, whatchamacallit, like, e-girls or whatever, and it's like they're selling their bathwater for, like, $10,000, and it's like there's all, like, it just seems like money is, like, so easy to make, and, like, that's, I think, like, that's a sounding board, because, like, money is not, like, the goal. Yes, it's important, and yes, we can't live without it, and yes, it makes things, to a degree easier, because you have options, and it can buy you time, and it can buy you, some buffer against some of the bullshit that life throws at you. But, we're all going to die. Like, none of us are getting out of this alive. So, is money the focus of money? Like, really? What you're gonna make your entire existence about? Really, bro? Like, that's it? That's all you fucking have? There's millions of people spouting that same bullshit, and you see like some of the fucked up stuff that people with money do. Why do you think that is? Like, why do people just tip the fuck over and like, develop massive drug habits, this, that, and the other? Clearly, money is not the panacea that you thought it was. I think because there's a fucking hole, and you're missing the point. Like, the point is to take your time, and if starting a business, or you go into a trade, or whatever it is you do, is like to really like to leave your. And I'm not saying that life boils down into like to work, but like what you do with your time is important. It is not the amassing of currency that determines who you are, because I guarantee you, when you're fucking old, you would trade all that money in the world to go back in time, and no one's built a fucking time machine yet. So if you're going to do something for money, and I know I'm kind of scatterbrained, but like this gets me riled up. If you're going to do something for money, money should be, I'm not saying tertiary in your priority list, but if you're going to do something, ideally do something and try to be the best person at it that you can possibly be. Ideally, do something that's of service to like your fellow man. And I'm not saying that certain things are better than others. Like, if you're going to work at a fast food joint, people usually hate going through fast food places because everyone hates their job. Like, if you're working at a fast food place and it's you're young or whatever, how about being like the best at that? And some people might laugh about that. Like, fuck them. Why Chick-fil-A? Look at them. Usually everyone's in a good mood. How can I serve you? It's my pleasure. This, that, and the other. They make it enjoyable. And it's probably the most successful fast food establishment in the country. I don't know about the world. I don't know about global Chick-fil-A operations. But like, you get what I'm saying? Like, there is it appears to have at least a veneer of trying to be excellent at whatever that is. And I think that's important. So, if you're watching financial gurus and stuff on YouTube, and the music swells, and you feel that emotional pull, and it's like you see in the description like link to my ebook or link to my course. Fuck your ebook, fuck your course. What you really need, it can't be found online. And if it can, it's going to be something that probably your great grandfather or whatever would have told you anyway. Is that like the answer lies in you, like, and you fucking know what the answer is. You know it. If you're lazy, like, stop. Like, you're going to have to at some point, like, not motivate yourself, but just like put yourself into motion on what it is you want to do. Like, if pick something. But like, do not look to these like financial, YouTube gurus for some kind of life-altering message that you just haven't happened to have heard yet, and everyone else has, because they're full of shit. They want to just funnel you into some bullshit course, some ebook, some lecture or whatever. Like, it's free. Like, you don't need anything. You need your effort. You need your brain. And there are some people who are going to be ahead of you. Either they're born with it, they're smarter than you, they're born, stronger than you, whatever. But like, you have time, and I say time because you have the immediate. Work your brain, like, learn stuff that you don't know, become good at things that are unfamiliar to you. Exercise your body, whatever. Like, you can improve, and that's the thing. Like, you're never going to be exactly what you want, but you have your strengths and you have your weaknesses, and you improve your strengths, or you improve your weaknesses, and then you further develop your strengths, and it can be an unstoppable, force once you've harnessed that. But like, you don't need anybody online to tell you this horse shit. And if you watch this for almost 30 fucking minutes, I apologize for taking 30 minutes of your entire life, but you don't need you don't need motivation. What you need to do is realize that every second that you have here on this planet, you cannot get back. So if you're going to devote your time to something, you know, devote it to being the best at it. The money, hopefully, no guarantees, but hopefully and usually will follow, because if someone is willing to pay you $1 for something, you know, clearly there's some value there. And, you know, then you just have to kind of scale that out or extrapolate it or, you know, or whatever. So like, you know, bear in mind that, you know, if someone's trying to sell you something to improve your life, you know, you don't really need it. Like I think you kind of already know what you should be doing, like that nagging voice in the back of your head that tells you, you know, like, hey, you know, I think you should be doing this, and you know, maybe quit playing fucking, you know, Xbox, and you know, maybe try to learn something on the side, because it's time is a finite resource. So I'm gonna quit rambling, but you know, the long story short is like, don't give your time to fucking financial YouTube gurus. Fuck them. No. To wrap up, the short answer is it's not sexy. It doesn't sell books. It doesn't sell courses. It doesn't get millions and millions of views. Like, you're going to have to work hard. It's going to take some time. Strive to be the best at it that you can, you know, and enjoy that process. The mastery is the goal, and the money typically follows. And anyone that tells you different, tell them to fucking eat a dick. Thanks.